Hey guys, welcome to Camping with Wade's RV. This is our first time to go live. I think we're on Facebook. Willie D, you said we were like on 3 different platforms, I guess. Okay. He says yes. He gives me the thumbs up. So today I have a special guest. We're going to talk about the 5 common RV insurance questions. I have Austin Jones with me. Austin Jones with State Farm. Could you, let's give you a little plug.
Yeah.
Where can we find you?
I appreciate it. Yeah. It's good to be here. I've been here for a couple other events, trunk or treat, stuff like that. So it's always good to be back at Wade's RV. But you guys can find me at austinjonesinsurance.com. So it's super simple. Or you guys can call my office, and that number is 918-940-2840. But the easiest way to find me is just austinjonesinsurance.com.
You on Facebook?
I am. You can find me at Austin Jones. I believe it's Austin Jones State Farm Agent.
Okay.
Or you can also find us on Instagram, and that one's Austin Jones Insurance on Instagram. So Instagram, Facebook, 2 best ways to keep up with myself and my office. I've got a great team around me, so we love to do community events, kind of like you guys.
Yeah.
Give back and do some stuff. So you follow us on there. You can keep up to date with what we're doing. But like I said, we love coming out and doing events with Wade's RV, other people in town, and give us a like and a follow.
So are you ready for this year's RV and Treat?
I'm always ready.
Yeah.
We loved it. I think last year was our first one doing it. And so we had a really good time. I think Willie D had me out. What was it? The car show, I think, that we came out to too,
Yeah.
and had a good time there. So we look forward to it. I love getting out of the office, shaking hands, kissing babies, and seeing some puppy dogs a lot of the time. So
yeah, there you go. I'm excited because, man, I can't remember how many years we've continued with the RV and Treat. It seems like the community is really like that. The Glenpool location, we have grown, several hundreds of people will show up here. It was our second year in Goldsby, and we had the Shriners out there. We had this big, locomotive train thing.
Yeah,
it was pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah. I saw a lot of the pictures there, and it looks like a good time. So
This year we get to add a 3rd location, which is Joplin, Missouri. So it's going to be interesting for logistical for me and Willie D to be in 3 locations,
3 places at one time.
Yeah, one time. Come on now.
We need what is it? The new I can't remember those. The new technology. You can be in a million places.
Oh yeah,
at one
where
time.
they just telegraph you there or whatever.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
That'd be wild.
That would be awesome. So we're sitting in a 2022 Riverstone 39 RKFB. And today, if you come and you visit one of our locations, you could save over $48,000 off of MSRP. That's a lot of savings. And, man, we're working with local. That's why we brought you here.
That sounds like a good deal.
Yeah, it is a good deal. But
I can tell you, by sitting in this, I pulled up, and Willie D kind of gave me a tour, and I was like, this is nice.
It is really nice. And so, it's awesome bringing you on here because we could say all day long, hey, we work with local credit unions and banks to make sure that we give our customers the best possible interest rates.
Sure.
We also work with local insurance providers, guys
absolutely.
like you that are experts in this. I've learned so much just kind of prepping for this show, talking to you.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things is, I pride myself, I pride my office on really getting to know my customers, because especially, too, when it comes to RV insurance, and we'll talk about this, moving forward, but every single, I think, person that goes on the road or whatever they're camping wishes are, right? They're all different. Some are full-time, some are part-time. And so really understanding and knowing that, I know that from your guys' end, I've talked to Willie D a bunch, that drives, what kind of model or what kind of camper that they buy. Hey, do you buy a 5th wheel? Hey, do you buy a bumper pull? Things like that. But the same thing kind of comes to, when we start managing the risk of that new toy that they just purchased. We look at it as an asset. And our job is to make sure that we're protecting that asset. We do live in Oklahoma, or most of these people live in Oklahoma, or even if they live around the Midwest or camp around the Midwest. There's a lot of risk that you take, whether it's weather or whether it's, car accidents or different things like that. And so, I pride myself and I pride my team on really getting to know those customers. And so we appreciate referrals and stuff like that because it really does allow us to kind of have a warm introduction so that we can get to know those customers and that we can make them feel comfortable not only with the purchase through the RV, but also to know that as they continue to move, they can go and camp with, the peace of mind knowing that, hey, if something happens, I've got a team around me that's going to take care of it from a, monetary or a financial perspective. And then also making sure that, service department here at Wade's RV gets them back on the road as quick as possible.
Yeah, when you spoke about purchasing, and when you look to purchase an RV, it's the partnership with the dealership. You have to find the right dealership to make sure that they're going to take care of you on service after the sale. Now, same with you. That's why we brought you here. You also need to make sure, hey, am I going to insure this correctly? So let's get into the 5 common RV insurance questions. Number 1, do you provide insurance for full-timers?
Yeah, that's a big question that we get a lot, and it's definitely a new topic. So it's something that, we in the office have kind of evolved and learned as we go, but it is something that we do offer. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I've got probably 4 or 5 that I know of for sure that I've worked with personally that are full-time RVers. I think 2 of them are in Class A motor coaches, and then the others are in fifth wheels. And then I've got a good friend that's in Florida, but they live in a different state. So I wasn't able to help them out because I don't write in that state, but I was able to kind of give them some guidance on kind of what to look for and different things like that. So the short answer is yes, we do provide full-time RV insurance. Now, a lot of the times we do have to claim residency somewhere else. So, we do have to have a residence address here, in Oklahoma or Texas to be able to write in my office. But we basically kind of claim a residency address, but then we can definitely write a full-time policy or a policy on the RV. And then there's also an additional policy that we call a personal articles policy that covers all of your personal belongings. So while you're on the road, there is some extension on a standard RV policy that does cover personal belongings that are in the coach. So if you add, a pit boss or a Traeger, or you've got camping chairs or different things like that, there actually is what we call personal property coverage on your RV policy, so that way, heaven forbid something happened to that RV, you don't have 2 separate claims, right? Because if you had the RV policy and then you also have a separate personal property policy, if you have a claim, you've got to file a claim on both those policies because each policy extends coverage in different places. But for those full-time RVers, we can kind of blanket that all into one, or if there's additional things. For instance, the client that I just recently worked with, they had some e-bikes or some electrical bikes that they put on the back of the RV, and so those 2 things we insured on kind of their own merit. But yes, to kind of give a long story and real life examples of some of the ones that we've done, we do full RV insurance. And the biggest piece of advice that I can give you is just, hey, call my office or let's sit down and talk and figure out exactly what your needs are, what all you have, and what your goals are. And we can cater a policy or a protection plan around that.
Yeah, because some of the full-timers that we see here at Wade's RV, they either sell their house and they buy some property, and so they're going to temporarily live in that fifth wheel or motorhome, full-time temporarily.
Yeah.
Or we see those guys that are like pipeliners, traveling nurse, more popular, to just buy an RV and travel to the job site. So
yeah, and so everybody's situation is different, and so again, that's where it's really key to have a local person. And we continue to pride ourselves that we love to get to know those people so that we can make sure that we're putting the right protection in place for each person's unique situation.
So you mentioned something I'd like you to dive in just a little deeper on, like the personal insurance. So do we like as an RV owner, I get my full-time insurance policy, but now I insure my personal property. Do I have to have like documentation? Like, what do you, advise your customers to do for that?
Yeah, so we actually have, and I do send all of our new customers kind of like what I call like an inventory list. So no matter what happens, when a claim happens and State Farm or whoever the insurance company is going to pay out on something, we have to have some sort of proof that obviously you owned that item, right? Yeah. Now, most of the time, it's a pretty black and white deal. I can tell, hey, did you own this? Or the claims department, they've been doing this for a long time, right?
Yeah.
So they're pretty savvy. So, I have run into some where it's like, hey, I had, Louis Vuitton handbags and all this sort of like fancy stuff. And it's like, well, your coverage limits don't necessarily match that you had that. And so there obviously is questions. And then at that point it turns into, well, hey, just prove that you had it and we'll pay out for it. So with RV personal property insurance, whether it's personal property in your RV, personal property at home, My easy recommendation is just once a year. Hey, go through your house, take a video, save it into a Google Drive or something like that, because that will kind of just show, hey, I had a 75-inch TV, or hey, I had this kind of a couch, or if you've got a Jordan collection in your closet, it's like, well, hey, I had all these shoes, so that way, if something comes up, and really the only questions that we ever have are on theft claims, right? Because there's no sort of evidence at the time of the claim that you had that item. But fires and stuff like that, it's just charcoal at that point, but you can still kind of make out what the item was. But yeah, so take an inventory, and then if it's something that's super personable to you, or like an heirloom or something like that, we do offer what we call scheduled items, meaning that we can insure items on their own merit for their own appraised value. It's what we call accidental direct physical loss coverage now.
Yeah.
And there are some, receipts or appraisals or different things like that we have to have for those specific items. But, I've insured everything from jewelry to wine and whiskey collections to pianos to prosthetic legs to horse saddles to golf clubs. I mean, you name it, you can insure it pretty much.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So question number 2 is, do I have to pay for the full coverage, the RV coverage, even during the months that I am not using my RV? So it's wintertime.
Sure.
I went to Wade's RV. I winterized my RV.
Yep.
And then I put it in a indoor storage facility
at Wade's RV. Right? There you go.
That was a shameless plug right there.
Yeah. No, that's a good question, and we get it a lot. We also get it on the boat side. I know you guys sell boats and you store boats, here. But again, no matter where that item or that asset is, it still is posing risk whether it's winterized in storage or not, right?
Yeah.
And so the short answer is yes. You still, in my opinion, would want to carry coverage on it, because again, if something, let's say a tornado comes through the top of the hill and it takes all of the storage units here at Wade's RV, you guys aren't responsible as Wade's RV for the coverage on that boat, right? It's up to the insured to still have a policy that covers what we call a comprehensive claim for that item to be covered. The other thing is that there are some weird rules around motor vehicles. So if it's a Class A motor coach and it's able to drive on its own, the state of Oklahoma actually mandates that if it's a drivable unit, that there is liability coverage on it all the time as well. So our policies are the same all year round. And our mindset and kind of motto behind it, or outlook is hey, you can't predict the day when something happens to it. So to try and, not necessarily cut corners, but to, wiggle pennies, to try and do some of that stuff, honestly, just hurts you in the long run. So again, when we put stuff in place, we really just look at it and say, hey, look, if you're going to own an RV, this is what it costs to.
That's the cost of owning an RV.
Build
it in.
There you go.
Austin, every time I try to save money, every time I try to cut a corner, because I'm going to save $100.
Right.
Dude, it costs me 10x that every time, I swear.
Yeah. And
every time.
And I always tell everybody, right, like in our world, and I don't know why people don't break this down, but for some reason, I can't remember if I listened to it on a call or something, but it resonated with me in my profession at least. But what I do is risk tolerance, or the transfer of risk, right? Mm-hmm. So if you give me $10, then I'm assuming X amount of risk based upon your $10. Well, if you only want to give me $5, well, I just have to. I don't have any other option, but I've got to shift some of that risk back to you. So again, one thing that we do is we try and sit down with all of those clients and really make sure and understand, hey, have we found the right level of risk tolerance? Do we know how much risk they're willing to take? Do we know what their financial savings look like, so that way if something happens, they can actually take care of it? Or, hey, do they not have a big nest egg and we need to, make a lower deductible but budget for a higher monthly premium payment, right? So that's one of the things that, again, we sit down and do so that we don't run into those situations where we tried to cut a corner and it cost you in the long run.
Yeah.
So
cool deal.
Yeah.
Third question. Man, a lot of good information so far. Thanks, Austin.
Yeah.
So number 3, I think we covered this a little bit, but we'll touch it again. Does RV insurance cover my accessories, i.e. like solar and satellite, stuff like that?
Yep, they sure do. So yeah, kind of kind of going back to number one, obviously anything that's manufacturer put on is going to be accounted for in the MSRP of what we insure the RV at. So anytime that I run a quote for an RV, I have to pull what we call an IRG guideline. I put the year, make, model, VIN, all that sort of stuff, and it pulls up the exact RV and it tells me what the MSRP price is. Now, that's not always the price that everybody buys at, right?
Yeah.
But again, we're insuring based on the date that if something happens to it and it was a complete and total loss, that we can replace it as fast as possible. We're not going to, or we can't afford to wait for a rebate to come into effect to, purchase at a lower price or whatever. We pay the true MSRP out at claims time, or that's what we're insuring it for. So any sort of, factory deal that comes like that is going to be accounted for there. However, satellite solar, again, we see a lot of grills, a lot of camping material, dirt bikes, different things like that. If you're carrying some of those things on that RV full time, then there is a separate coverage.
That's where that additional
that additional, it's called additional equipment, right?
Okay.
So again, that's one of the questions that we ask is, hey, is there any additional equipment that you want to carry? You don't have to carry it, right?
Yeah.
So there is an additional premium associated with it. But again, it makes the claims time a lot smoother because if something happens to that RV and the solar panels are damaged, again, we can file that all on one claim at one time, and you don't have to pay two separate deductibles, things like that.
Cool. Well, that was simple.
Easy enough, right?
So I guess the $1 million question. Question number 4, how much coverage do I need for my RV?
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to vary, right? I mean, obviously, I would assume.
Yeah. It doesn't vary as much as people would think.
Okay.
It's not necessarily kind of a stated policy type deal. Now I'm trying to think now off the top of my head. It more is for...
That's kind of a loaded question, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. But I do know on trailers, because we write, here in Oklahoma, we write horse trailers, utility trailers. We do the whole 9 yards. Mm-hmm. Now, on your horse and utility trailer, they are a little bit different than like a travel trailer or a bumper pull trailer. On like the utility and horse trailers, you actually can insure them for kind of truly whatever you want from a stated value perspective, as long as it's reasonable. So I do have a lot of people that will buy a horse trailer and they'll say, hey, I bought it for $5,000. That's all I want it insured for. Cool. Not a problem. We can do that. Right. Yeah. So if it gets damaged at claims, you give me basically the title to the trailer and I say, hey, here's $5,000 less your deductible. On travel trailers, bumper pools, RVs, motor coaches, things like that, they are all insured on an MSRP basis.
Okay.
And then the claim is obviously going to be settled on an actual cash value basis. So just like your standard car policy, we're going to, on the claim side, go through and find the most recent sales of that exact coach, and then we kind of average that out, and then that's typically how the claim gets settled.
Okay, I'm going to stump you on this, Austin.
Yeah, go ahead.
Say you buy an iconic Airstream.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a 1968,
mm-hmm.
and you paid $70,000-$80,000 because it's
mm-hmm.
a classic. It's been restored, they totally restored everything back to like its original condition.
Yep.
How do you do that? Because if you look up the value of that, how do you determine that?
Yeah, so one of the things that I do with my clients is, again, the beauty of working with State Farm is that all of my underwriters are State Farm. Like, we're all a team. It's not like I'm having to fight against a different underwriter, or and no offense to anybody that's a broker, but that just is one of the benefits of me being a State Farm agent, is that all of my underwriters, all of my servicing departments, everything like that at corporate are all State Farm people. Yeah. And so I haven't done any of the Airstreams or anything like that, but I have a couple other friends that have. But again, one of the things that we run into at claims time is just kind of proof of that. I haven't had any problems. I don't know of off the top of my head like a true classic RV policy.
Okay.
Whereas like on the car side, we do have an antique classic policy. They're actually written for a stated value policy. And so that is a good stumped question. But my best advice would be is that, we on our end would go to the underwriters and verify and get that peace of mind to know that it is. Yeah. And hey, not everything I can always do too, right? But one of the things that you're going to get working with me is that if for whatever we run into a situation like that and I can't do it, just like I'm similar you guys do, we will put you in the right direction because there's somebody out there for those certain niche or super unique situations that we can get to.
Yeah, so I just had to ask that question because, Airstreams are like iconic in the RV industry, and like just geeking out and appreciating RVs. I'm always like on the Airstream page. I'm like, holy cow, that thing is like how much?
Yeah. Well, and what's weird too is like, so we've done, I've done several like Ford Transit van conversions. Yeah. So we write those as a standard deal. And
you're talking about like hashtag van life stuff.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. So we've done a couple of those. And they take a Ford Transit van that's like $35,000, and now all of a sudden it's worth $120 by the time you get done with it.
Yeah.
But we insure it just kind of like your normal standard Sprinter van. We do include all the additional equipment, everything like that's insured. And so, my natural thought process, just because I haven't done an Airstream off the top of my head, but my natural thought process is we would run it just like a normal one, but make sure that we've got enough additional equipment and are paying the appropriate premium for the value of what that Airstream is.
There you go. So next question number 5.
Yeah.
Will my RV be covered for international travel? You want to take this thing international?
Yeah. So I know for sure we cover it. Like if you were to take a trip up to Canada or something like that, and you were kind of wheeling around in Canada, you would have coverage just like you would here in the States, and same goes with Mexico. I don't know if you got any further south than Mexico, what that looks like. That would be a heck of a trek.
I would question what they're doing down there.
Yeah, exactly. But again, that would be one of the things that, it's like, hey, let's sit down. And again, don't be shameful to, be honest about what you're doing, right? Yeah. Because we're talking about risk, and we want to make sure. And I can tell you as an insurance agent, there's not a worse feeling on the planet than somebody calling you and saying, hey, something happened or the house burned down or whatever the case may be, right? But you get that call, and on that day, you have to tell them like, hey, sorry, but I don't get to write a check. Like, I didn't know about that, or we didn't have it covered right, or different things like that. So, again, that's why it's important. And, I really sit down, and my last family that I worked with, they were in the office for like an hour and a half to 2 hours. And, there was a lot of questions asked, and I'm sure that they weren't necessarily prepared for it, but again, it's one of the things that I take seriously. And again, I just have had those situations where I've had to tell people, no, I can't write a check, and that motivates me to be better, to know my clients more. And at the end of the day, too, like it's weird. My profession, I get paid to like tell stories with people, kind of right. Like we just sit down and talk. Like, hey, where are you guys going? What are you doing? Hey, I'm jealous of that. I'd love to do that too right now.
Yeah.
And so it's fun. But yeah, so for international travel, we would cover those. But again, to kind of give a little bit of a plug on just letting people know what you're doing, so that way we can make sure that from our end we're appropriating things correctly.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you were also asking them a lot of questions, so you could kind of, you could point them in the right direction. That's what we do here at Wade's RV.
Yeah, sure.
It's a lot of questions.
Yep.
They might think they want this Riverstone, but after we find out why they're using it, how many people are going with them camping, if they're, just on the weekends or whatever, I'm like, hey,
sure.
Have you thought about this over here?
Right.
Let's just go look at it. Because
well, it's one of those things, like you guys do this every day, right?
Yeah.
Like you guys know these machines back and forth, or these units back and forth. You know how they work, how they don't work.
You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. And I think that's what's cool too is, if I were to come and purchase an RV, I'm just going to tell Willie D, hey, this is what I want to do with it. I'm just going to trust him because he's been around it so much longer than I have. And I think that's what's cool about relationships, right? You get to just put your trust in other people, but you get to build those friendships, and ultimately, there is a little bit of trust that has to go into it. And there's a trust that they put in myself and my office and State Farm, that on the day that something happens, that we're going to come through with the promise that we said that we were going to come through. And everything about everything that everybody does is all in trust. So
100% correct. This last question, a little bit of a loaded question, maybe.
Sure.
How important is it to have the right RV insurance partner? This is where you give yourself a plug, Austin.
Right. Yeah. No, I think we've been given a plug the whole time.
Oh, okay.
But no, again, I mean, it's one of those things where you don't know what you don't know. And so having somebody that you can lean on, that you can ask questions, that can just, again, give you the peace of mind, that's the important part. Because, again, no matter what we do in life, there's risk that we face every day. And in our world, it's our job to make sure that when those risks happen, that we're there to write a check or, give you a shoulder to cry on or whatever the case may be. Or both. Yeah. I've done that a lot, and I don't mind it. I've even watched some house fires, from the tailgate of the truck and said, hey, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
We'll have a cleaning crew in here tomorrow and we'll, I can show up with a check of $5,000 or, however much and put them in temporary living, get them closed. So that's the important part, right? Is that especially having a local agent, I do have some abilities with State Farm that I can, I can do stuff pretty quickly. Right. And so a lot of the times when something happens, people want it done quick. They want to get back on the road as fast as they can. So having that insurance partner not only helps the claims process go a little bit smoother, but I also can do it typically a whole lot quicker than calling a 1-800 number.
I'm glad you said that,
right?
Because I was going to butt in, but I was like, I'm going to let him finish. So I was going to say, a couple things come to mind. Going through an app, you don't have that personal connection. You don't have that person saying, hey, did you think about this question? Or, hey, what's the use here? What are you thinking? And really kind of dive in. And it actually reminds me that sometimes we just need to really slow down.
Sure.
Because, thank you, Amazon.
Yeah.
For boom, now, want it. Same day. Boom, now, got to have it. Boom, boom, boom. And I get like that, dude.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have to slow down, appreciate the process.
Yep.
Answer your questions,
Yep.
ask you questions, and then boom, this is what I need.
Yeah. But again, time is money, right? So, we try to do everything that we can to just be there, right? Yeah. I will say, I do think that you get what you pay for in life with a lot of things. I know that especially in my world, you can always typically go get something cheaper, right? You can get insurance policies cheaper, but are they going to come with the same personalized service? Are they going to come with the same coverages? Are they going to come with the same, just, again, person that's there for you, right? Yeah. I think when it comes to RVs, I could probably go on Facebook and buy one, right?
100%.
But when I get that RV, am I going to know what I'm looking at?
Yeah, did someone give you a full walkthrough?
Yeah,
did they do a PDI?
Yeah.
A pre-delivery inspection?
I don't know what a PDI is.
A pre-delivery inspection.
There you go. Yeah, see, I don't know.
The guy's like, it worked last week.
I'm just going to hope and pray that it doesn't break down.
Works. It works. Don't look at it. It works. Yeah, the propane's out. Well, yeah.
How long has it been sitting in storage?
Yeah. We used it last week, I swear.
Yeah, it's been there for 4 years.
That's how that happens every time.
Yeah. So again,
and we see those customers, what you were talking about, I don't know how many times I've heard that, a friend of my dad's, well, saw it down there over here. Joe was selling this RV, and I bought it from Joe to save a couple $1,000.
Yeah.
It's got wood rot on the ceiling.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Wade. Can you fix it?
Yeah.
Every time. My dad's like,
Wade,
hey, it's okay.
Wade says that's going to be $10,000.
Yeah. Sometimes, but he's like, oh, man, it's all good.
Yeah.
Always open arms and, because as humans, we've all been there.
Yeah.
We've all done that.
No, 100%. And I think
here's your stupid tax.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's one of the things too, it's again, you do get what you pay for. And I think more than anything, I just try and really educate people to say, hey, look, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I just want you to know the risk that you're up against. I want you to know the financial obligations that you have come claims time. And then I want you to make the educated decision based on where your finances are at, where your risk tolerance is at, and how much peace of mind that you want. And ultimately, at the end of the day, my job is just to educate people enough that they can make a comfortable and precise decision, right? So again, if I were to go, buy an RV on Facebook, hopefully I go into that process and say, okay, I know how much risk I'm up. But again, I'm not willing to take that. I don't think anybody should take that risk, right? I mean, there's maybe 5% of people. I bet you Willie D could go and buy one on Facebook because he's got a back source that can help if something happened. But again, people, I think, need professional resources, and that's why they have you guys. That's why they have myself. That's why they have a doctor. That's why they have all these other people, right? It's so that as you walk through life, you can make those educated decisions, and that if something happens, you've got somebody that you can confidently lean on that's going to be there for you, and that ultimately, for your mental sake, can get you back on square quicker.
Well, you said it earlier, time is money. And if you go to a place like Facebook or Craigslist and you try to purchase an RV and you don't go to the experts, you're going to be, in the end, you're going to be wasting a lot of time.
Sure, 100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I try to go figure out how to source my own insurance policy, oh my gosh.
Yeah. How did you choose the coverage? Do you know what coverage you have?
Exactly.
Do you know what your deductible is? And I get that all the time because there's a ton of stuff out there. I mean, heck, you can go bind a policy on State Farm.
Yeah.
Now, again, the cool thing is that if you went and bought a policy directly on statefarm.com, it's going to assign you an agent. Hopefully it's myself.
Yeah.
But it's going to assign you an agent because, again, State Farm's mission and motto is that they want somebody to be there to partner with you.
Yeah.
And so at some point, we are going to reach out and say, hey, do you understand what you just bought?
Yeah.
No, it was the cheapest thing.
And they're going to pass it to you because of your experience and qualifications.
Yeah, sure.
Can you
Absolutely.
tell us about that?
Yeah. So I've been with State Farm for 5 years now. So I worked for another agent in Oklahoma City. I was going to school there at the time.
What school?
I went to Southern Nazarene University.
Okay.
Attempted to play basketball there.
I went to UCO.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was there for 4 years. And then my college roommate actually was doing an internship with State Farm and kind of introduced me to the gig. And always wanted to own my own business. Loved leadership, loved giving opportunities to people. So I love having a staff that I can help and watch grow and coach and, give opportunities to people that otherwise I don't think would have the opportunity because somebody gave that to me.
Yeah.
And so, was with State Farm for 2.5 years working for another agent and wanted to do this thing full time and basically did everything that I could to present myself as somebody that was capable of doing it to State Farm. And so there was an opportunity that arose back in, March of 2021. I got, excuse me, I got an email that there was an opening here in Tulsa. It was the first opening that was in Tulsa or in like the middle of Tulsa in like the last 1.5 or 2 years. And so I actually applied for that one and didn't get it. But there was one that opened up shortly after that and got that one. So I opened my office in October 21. We're over on 71st in between Yale and Sheridan. So we're just on the south side of St. Francis, right next to that brand new Quick Trip. So we're road facing. You can find us there. But it's been so good. I've got 4 account managers now, 2 customer service managers, and then myself. So I've got a great staff around me. We answer the phone when you call.
There you go.
So if you need somebody to get a hold of, you can get a hold of us. You can email us at info@austinjonesinsurance.com, or like I said, you can visit our website at austinjonesinsurance.com, and you can find all of our email, Instagram, all that sort of stuff there, and contact us. You actually can text us too, which not a lot of people know, but you can text or call us at 918-940-2840. So for all my people that are technology savvy and don't like to talk on the phone, we'll text with you too. But no, it's been good. I appreciate you guys for having me out. It's been an absolute blast to get to hang out and know you guys. And so again, if you guys need an RV, there's only one place to be.
That's Wade's RV.
That's Wade's RV.
There you go, guys. Hey, thank you for joining us on another episode of RV Camping with Wade's RV. This is the place to shop an RV. We have 3 different locations: the Glenpool location, Goldsby, Joplin. Visit wadesrv.com. We have 3 different phone numbers, bro. And I've been trying to memorize all 3. I have 2 out of the 3 memorized, so I'll just
there you go.
Direct everybody to the social media. We have at Wade's RV for Glenpool. We have at Wade's RV Goldsby for Goldsby. We have at Wade's RV for Joplin. Until I see you guys again, go to Wade's RV and tell them Little Wade sent you. Bye.